All of a sudden, we hear sticks snapping like something stepping on a stick. But we couldn't see anything.
A strange sighting is baffling Hill Country Village residents tonight. This creature was caught on camera at a Northside neighborhood.
Portland men lost their lives while searching for Bigfoot.
Try and clear up an ancient mystery with the help of a prominent veterinarian who says she can prove that Bigfoot exists.
In April 2020, a hunter ventured deep into Idaho's Sawtooth Wilderness, where he encountered something that made his blood run cold. There, scattered among the ancient pines, lay human remains weathered by time and forgotten by the world. But it was the discovery of a corroded camera that would unveil a mystery darker than the mountain shadows themselves. Within its damaged memory card lay a single photograph, one that captured something our minds refused to comprehend. A presence that had stalked these mountains for generations. What creature lurked behind Todd Hofflander's final image? And what ancient force still walks these remote valleys, waiting for those who venture too far from civilization's reach? This is the story of what really happened on Seven Devils Mountain. Welcome back to the Cryptid Report. The Sawtooth Wilderness of northwest Idaho holds many secrets beneath its rugged peaks and dense forests. Among these ancient mountains, where shadows stretch long across deep valleys and the wind whispers through towering pines, a chilling discovery in April 2020 would unearth one of the region's most haunting mysteries. The morning air was crisp when a lone hunter ventured into a secluded valley. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled shadows across the forest floor, where years of fallen leaves created a thick, natural carpet. As the hunter navigated through the untamed terrain, something unusual caught his eye, a glint of metal among the undergrowth, out of place in this pristine wilderness. Drawing closer, the hunter's breath caught in his throat. Scattered across the ground lay human skeletal remains, bleached by years of exposure to the elements. Nature had begun to reclaim these bones, integrating them into the forest floor. Nearby, partially buried under vegetation, lay the remnants of what was once a carefully packed backpack, its fabric deteriorated by a decade of harsh mountain weather. But it was the discovery of a corroded camera that would transform this from a tragic finding into something far more sinister. The device, weathered by years of exposure, held within its damaged memory card the final moments of Todd Hofflander's life. And something else, something that would send shockwaves through the cryptozoology community. The Sawtooth region had long been whispered about in local folklore. Native Americans spoke of tall, powerful beings that stalked these mountains, their eyes gleaming in the darkness. Hunters exchanged stories of strange calls echoing through the valleys, unlike any known wildlife. The area around Seven Devils Mountain in particular carried an ancient reputation for mysterious disappearances and unexplained phenomena. These mountains, with their steep, unforgiving terrain and vast stretches of unexplored wilderness, provided the perfect habitat for something to remain hidden, unseen by human eyes. The dense vegetation near the Bernard River mouth, where Hofflander's remains were discovered, created a natural labyrinth where even helicopter searches could miss what lay beneath the canopy. For a decade, the mountains had kept their secret, holding tight to the truth of what happened to Todd Hofflander. But with the discovery of his remains in that corroded camera, the veil between mystery and reality began to tear. What the memory card contained would force many to question their understanding of what truly lurks in the remote corners of the American wilderness. The discovery marked the beginning of an investigation that would uncover not just the fate of one man, but evidence of something that many had claimed existed in these mountains for generations. Something that local cryptozoologists had long suspected stalked these ancient forests, leaving behind only whispered stories and frightened witnesses. As investigators would soon discover, the camera's memory card held not just Todd Holland's final photographs of serene mountain landscapes, but also captured a haunting image that would shed new light on his fateful decision to venture into these treacherous mountains on that September morning in 2010. At 39, Todd Holland was no novice to the wilderness. His years of experience had taught him to respect the mountains, to read their moods, and to prepare meticulously for their challenges. As an accomplished outdoorsman, he understood the delicate balance between adventure and caution, making his eventual disappearance all the more perplexing to those who knew him. Seven Devils Mountain loomed over the Sawtooth region like a stark reminder of nature's dominance. Its name, as foreboding as the peak itself, spoke to the treacherous terrain that had claimed many unwary travelers throughout history. The mountain's steep, rugged slopes and unstable rock formations created an environment where even the most experienced hunters treaded carefully. September marked the prime season for black-tailed deer, drawing them to the mountain's shadowy valleys for breeding, a fact Todd had carefully considered in planning his hunt. By his side was Ruby, his trusted black Labrador retriever, whose role would prove pivotal in this mysterious tale. More than just a hunting companion, Ruby represented Todd's connection to civilization in the vast wilderness. Her training and loyalty made her an ideal partner for tracking game through the difficult terrain. Yet even Ruby's eventual return would only deepen the mystery, her terror-stricken behavior suggesting encounters beyond normal wildlife experiences. Todd's preparation for the journey reflected his methodical nature. His backpack contained carefully selected overnight camping gear, essential for surviving the harsh mountain environment. For protection, he carried a .357 Magnum revolver, a choice that spoke to his awareness of the predators, both known and unknown, that roam these mountains. The fact that this weapon would never be found among his recovered belongings adds another layer of mystery to his disappearance. The journey was meant to be shared with his friend Jeff, a detail that would later draw intense scrutiny from investigators. Their plan was straightforward, a 4-day expedition into the heart of Seven Devils territory, combining hunting with the opportunity to witness the breathtaking views of Hell's Canyon. The timeline seemed reasonable, the route well planned, yet something awaited them in those mountains that no amount of preparation could have anticipated. Local indigenous peoples had long whispered about the spirits that dwelled in these peaks. Their legends spoke of tall, powerful beings that moved through the forest like shadows, leaving behind only fleeting glimpses and lingering fear. While Todd might have dismissed such tales as folklore, the contents of his recovered camera would later force many to reconsider these ancient warnings. As Todd and Jeff embarked on their journey that crisp September morning, the mountain's ancient peaks cast long shadows across their path, as if reaching out to claim what would soon be lost to their depths. The weight of Todd's revolver at his hip offered a false sense of security against what lurked in the wilderness ahead. Yet none of his careful preparations would prove sufficient for what the mountain held in store, as the third day of their journey would bring an unexpected turn that would set in motion a decade-long mystery. The first 2 days of the hunting expedition progressed without incident, Todd and Jeff tracking deer through the rugged terrain while enjoying the spectacular autumn views of Hell's Canyon. The crisp mountain air carried the promise of a successful hunt, as signs of black-tailed deer grew more frequent with each passing mile. Their easy camaraderie masked the tension that would soon emerge as nature began orchestrating its mysterious plan. On the third day, everything changed. Todd's knee, perhaps strained from navigating the treacherous slopes, began causing him severe pain. The injury's timing couldn't have been worse. They were deep in the wilderness, miles from any marked trail. Their last known location, McPhail Ridge, offered a temporary haven, but it would soon become the starting point of an enduring mystery. Jeff's suggestion to split up seemed logical at the time. He would continue to their intended destination while Todd rested at McPhail Ridge, conserving his strength. The plan included Jeff returning with his father, Steve, to help Todd complete the journey. On paper, it was a reasonable solution to an unfortunate situation. Yet something in the mountain's atmosphere had shifted, as if nature itself was holding its breath. The moment of Jeff's departure marked the last time anyone would see Todd Hofflander alive. He had sufficient supplies, food, water, and a sleeping bag for comfort. His trusted companion Ruby remained by his side, and his .357 Magnum offered protection against wildlife. Everything suggested he would be safe until Jeff's return. But the mountains held different plans. As Jeff's footsteps faded into the distance, witnesses would later recall an unusual stillness descending over McPhail Ridge. The typical sounds of wilderness, bird calls, rustling leaves, the distant cry of hawks, seemed to disappear, replaced by an oppressive silence that spoke of something unnatural lurking in the shadows. The environmental clues, noticed only in hindsight, painted a disturbing picture. Experienced hunters later reported that during those days, the wildlife patterns in the area had changed dramatically. Deer, usually abundant in the region, were conspicuously absent. Even the smaller animals, squirrels, rabbits, and mountain birds, seemed to have abandoned the area, as if fleeing from an unseen presence. At the campsite Todd had established, investigators would later find signs of a hasty departure. The sleeping bag was still partially rolled, suggesting he had either been startled awake or never got the chance to properly settle in. His backpack, when eventually discovered, showed signs of being quickly packed, items hastily stuffed inside rather than organized with his usual precision. The mountain's silence held secrets that day, as something moved through the ancient forests of Seven Devils. The usual whispers of wind through pine needles grew strange and threatening, carrying echoes of movement that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Ruby's behavior, according to later analysis, suggested she sensed something long before her master, her usual confident demeanor replaced by growing agitation. When Jeff and his father returned to McPhail Ridge on September 28th, they found only emptiness where Todd should have been waiting. The campsite stood abandoned, with no note, no sign of struggle, and no indication of which direction he might have gone. It was as if the mountain had simply swallowed him whole, leaving behind only questions that would haunt investigators for years to come. As the sun began to set that evening, casting long shadows across McPhail Ridge, the search for Todd Hofflander was about to begin. But what the searchers would uncover would challenge everything they thought they knew about the creatures that called these mountains home. The moment Jeff reported Todd's disappearance, the Sawtooth region erupted into a frenzy of search activity. Helicopters cut through mountain valleys while search dogs scoured the rugged terrain, their handlers meticulously documenting every potential trace of the missing hunter. The sheriff's office mobilized 7 separate teams, each assigned to different sectors of the vast wilderness surrounding McPhail Ridge and extending towards Seven Devils Mountain. Yet it was the unexpected return of Ruby, Todd's loyal black Labrador, that provided the first real breakthrough, and the first indication that something truly inexplicable had occurred. Found by a hiking couple who recognized her from missing dog posters, Ruby's physical condition defied conventional explanation. Despite weeks in the wilderness, she showed only mild signs of dehydration, but the absence of her collar and pack spoke to a deliberate human intervention, or something far more sinister. Ruby's behavioral changes haunted even the most seasoned search and rescue veterans. The once confident hunting dog now exhibited signs of profound psychological trauma. When brought back to assist in the search, her reactions sent chills through the rescue teams. She trembled uncontrollably, emitting whimpers and barks that her handlers described as expressions of pure terror. Most disturbing was her absolute refusal to approach certain areas of the mountain, as if some primal instinct warned her of an unseen threat. The police investigation took a darker turn when Jeff underwent questioning. His polygraph results raised immediate red flags among investigators. The inconsistencies in his story, coupled with his failure to pass the lie detector test, cast a shadow of suspicion over his account. Julie Holland's subsequent revelations about Jeff's character, his history of aggressive behavior, inappropriate comments and mistreatment of animals, painted a troubling portrait of Todd's hunting companion. In a desperate bid to uncover the truth, Julie enlisted the help of Lynn May, a clairvoyant from California. May's visions, while initially dismissed by authorities, would later take on a chilling significance. She spoke of a tall figure, a violent death, in a burial site near the base of Seven Devils Mountain. Though vague, aligned disturbingly with what would later be discovered on the recovered camera. The official search operation, spanning almost a month, covered vast stretches of the Sawtooth Wilderness. Teams combed through every ravine and ridge where Todd might have sought shelter, but the mountain kept its secrets. On October 21st, with winter approaching and no new leads, authorities made the difficult decision to suspend the search. But it wasn't the end of Todd Hofflander's story, for deep in the wilderness, corroding in the mountain elements, his camera held evidence that would force investigators to confront possibilities far beyond their normal scope of expertise. The recovery of Todd Hofflander's camera marked a turning point in the investigation, transforming a mysterious disappearance into something far more disturbing. The device, a standard digital camera of the era, had spent a decade exposed to harsh mountain elements. Its casing showed significant corrosion, leading initial forensic technicians to doubt whether any data could be salvaged from its memory card. Using specialized data recovery techniques, experts meticulously extracted the camera's contents. The process required extreme care, each file fragment potentially holding crucial information about Todd's final moments. The technical team, led by veteran forensic analysts, employed advanced digital reconstruction methods to piece together what remained on the deteriorated memory card. The first successfully recovered images painted a serene picture of the hunting expedition's early stages. Todd had documented their journey with the eye of an experienced outdoorsman, capturing sweeping vistas of Hell's Canyon and the majestic peaks of Seven Devils Mountain. These initial photographs showed normal progression, tracking shots of deer signs, camp setups, and trail markers that would help guide their return journey. As technicians moved chronologically through the recovered files, they noticed subtle changes in the image's composition. The later photos began showing more hurried framing, less attention to detail. Of particular interest were several shots taken around McPhail Ridge, where Todd was last seen. These images revealed something the initial search had missed: unusual patterns of broken vegetation and unexplained shadows at the forest edge. The timestamp progression revealed a crucial detail: a significant gap between the casual hunting photographs and what would prove to be the final image. This gap suggested something had disrupted Todd's normal photography pattern, something that had caused him to stop documenting his journey for several hours. When he did reach for his camera again, it would be under circumstances that would haunt investigators for years to come. As forensic analysts prepared to examine the last photograph, they noticed an anomaly in the file's metadata. Unlike the previous images, this final shot showed signs of being taken in rapid succession, as if Todd had been frantically attempting to capture something moving in his field of view. The file itself was larger than the others, suggesting it may have been taken at a different resolution, perhaps because the camera's settings had been accidentally changed in a moment of panic. The analysis team knew they were approaching something unprecedented in their investigation. They just didn't realize how unprecedented until the final image began slowly rendering on their laboratory screens. The final photograph, when fully enhanced and stabilized, revealed something that sent shockwaves through the cryptozoology community. The image showed a massive figure, partially obscured by dense vegetation, standing upright at a height later estimated to be between 7 and 8 feet tall. Despite the photograph's blur, likely caused by Todd's shaking hands, certain features were unmistakable. A muscular, humanoid form covered in what appeared to be thick, matted fur with a distinctive grass-like texture. Experts in cryptid analysis immediately noted several defining characteristics matching known grassman encounters. The creature's estimated weight, based on comparative analysis and environmental markers visible in the photo, suggested a mass of approximately 500 pounds. Its proportions differed significantly from known wildlife, ruling out the possibility of a misidentified bear or other large predator. Most striking were the creature's eyes, which appeared to reflect light in a way unique to certain nocturnal predators. When compared to the broader database of Bigfoot encounters across multiple states, Todd's photograph aligned with several key patterns. The grassman, considered by some researchers to be a distinct subspecies of Bigfoot, had been reported numerous times in similar mountainous regions. The creature's reported behaviors, including aggression toward dogs, nocturnal activity, and a strong territorial response to human intrusion, matched perfectly with the circumstances surrounding Todd's disappearance and Ruby's traumatized state. As the final seconds of daylight faded on that September evening, Todd Hofflander had inadvertently captured evidence of something that had lurked in American wilderness folklore for generations. A photograph that would both vindicate believers and challenge skeptics for years to come. As investigators delved deeper into the photograph's implications, they uncovered a pattern of similar encounters throughout the Sawtooth Wilderness, encounters that would shed new light on what really happened to Todd Hofflander that fateful day. The Grassman connection, the Sawtooth region's history of cryptid encounters stretches back generations, with Native American tribes long warning of powerful beings that stalked their hunting grounds. The area surrounding Seven Devils Mountain in particular accumulated a remarkable pattern of sightings: tall humanoid creatures moving with surprising stealth through the dense undergrowth, leaving behind only fleeting glimpses and inexplicable tracks. The grassman, as it became known in cryptozoological circles, earned its name from the distinctive texture of its fur, a shaggy, grass-like coating that provided perfect camouflage in the mountain's verdant terrain. Eyewitness accounts consistently described a creature standing 7 to 8 feet tall, with a muscular frame supporting an estimated weight of 500 pounds. Its most distinctive features included glowing eyes adapted for nocturnal hunting and the ability to emit powerful guttural vocalizations that silenced other forest creatures. The behavioral patterns documented in Todd's case aligned disturbingly well with historical grassman encounters. The creature's reported aggression toward dogs matched Ruby's terror and the mysterious removal of her collar. Its nocturnal nature explained the timing of Todd's final photograph, while its territorial behavior offered a possible motive for the attack. Most significantly, the distance between Todd's last known location and where his remains were discovered matched the creature's known range of movement. The environmental conditions of the Bernard River mouth area provided ideal habitat for such a creature. The dense vegetation offered natural concealment, while the region's abundant wildlife could support a large predator's dietary needs. The complex network of caves and rock formations throughout Seven Devils Mountain created perfect shelter opportunities, explaining how such a large creature could remain largely hidden from human observation. From a scientific perspective, while mainstream researchers remained skeptical, several compelling pieces of evidence supported the grassman hypothesis. Analysis of broken vegetation patterns around Todd's recovered remains indicated movement by something far larger than known local wildlife. The height at which branches were broken suggested a bipedal creature of exceptional size. Most intriguingly, hair samples collected from the area showed DNA structures that proved difficult to classify within known species categories. The location's geological and ecological characteristics created a perfect storm of conditions for sustaining an unknown primate species. The remote nature of the terrain, combined with its rich biodiversity and extensive cave systems, offered both sustenance and seclusion. The seasonal movements of deer herds through the area provided a reliable food source, while the challenging terrain and extreme weather conditions naturally limited human interference. As more details emerged about Todd's encounter, a disturbing correlation surfaced between his case and dozens of similar incidents scattered across the American Northwest, pointing toward a darker reality lurking in these ancient forests. The physical evidence surrounding Todd Hofflander's case presented investigators with a complex puzzle. His skeletal remains, discovered near the Bernard River mouth, showed no signs of conventional animal predation. The scattered distribution of bones and equipment suggested a deliberate pattern rather than natural decomposition or scavenging, hinting at intentional movement of the body. The considerable distance between McPhail Ridge and the location of Todd's remains, dozens of miles through challenging terrain, initially baffled investigators. However, this anomaly aligned perfectly with known grassman behavior patterns, where creatures reportedly dragged prey over long distances to avoid detection and maintain territorial boundaries. Ruby's survival provided crucial context to the timeline. Her relatively good health upon discovery, despite weeks in the wilderness, suggested she had access to food, possibly from Todd's scattered supplies. The missing collar and pack pointed to deliberate removal, either by human intervention or, more disturbingly, by a creature with sufficient intelligence to recognize and manipulate human equipment. The absence of Todd's .357 Magnum revolver remains one of the case's most significant mysteries. As an experienced outdoorsman, Todd would never willingly abandon his primary means of protection. Its disappearance, along with other specific pieces of equipment, matches patterns observed in other cryptid encounters where metallic objects were apparently removed from victim sites. These elements, when compared with similar cases across the American Northwest, reveal striking similarities. The removal of identification items, the long-distance relocation of remains, and the survival of accompanying dogs all appear repeatedly in documented encounters with large, unknown primates in remote wilderness areas. The mystery of Todd Hofflander's death continues to intrigue investigators and cryptozoologists alike. As hikers venture into the Sawtooth Wilderness, many wonder if something still stalks these ancient mountains. Like, share, and tell us about your own encounters with the unknown in America's remote wilderness, where every shadow could hide a secret.